All right, kicking us off this week is a man whose name was brought up an awful lot during the UFC 261 fight week, and he wasn't even fighting on the card. So, of course, he made headlines when Dana White said before the main event between Kamaru Usman and Jorge Masvidal went down, and it was reiterated after Usman's knockout win that the next fight to make for the welterweight title is the rematch between Usman and my guest at this time, Colby Chaos Covington, who is kind enough to join us right now. Colby, thank you for doing this, man.
Thanks for having me, Mike. It's a pleasure to talk to you again. You know, we started this thing a long time ago together, and it's good to still be here today at the top of the game, #1 in the world, chasing world title fights and world championships. So it's a pleasure to speak to you again.
Yeah, it's great to have you here. And I know you haven't done a lot of interviews since the win over Tyron Woodley in September, but I guess how are you, man? Like, it's been a minute. What's been going on in the life of Colby Covington and the world of Colby Covington Incorporated over the last several months?
Yeah, it's been a great couple months. You know, we've been working hard in the gym tirelessly, you know, just working on the evolution of our game and just making sure that we're well-rounded and we're ready to go and staying ready on a moment's notice at all times. So, you know, things didn't fall my way in the fight world. I didn't get the fights that I thought I was going to get in the time I was going to get them. I stayed ready for those backup fights in case someone fell out. But now it's time for round two with Marty Juiceman, you know, the CEO of EPO. So I can't wait to get back in there with him. And I just love all the hype he's getting as being the greatest fighter of all time, the pound for pound #1. So it's just going to make it that much more credible when I go out there and smash him next time around.
I'm interested in this because were you supposed to? Did the UFC want you to be the backup for the fight on Saturday? Because I know Dana brought it up like briefly at the post-fight press conference. Said Usman may have had a problem with that in some way. Like, what happened? Were you supposed to be the backup fighter for that?
Yeah, I was supposed to, but you know, Marty Juiceman and Street Judas, that fragile guy from Miami, you know, they both refused it. They said, hey, if anybody gets injured or has to pull out last minute, we're not fighting Colby. It's a stylistic change, and we're not ready for that stylistic change on short notice. So, you know, it's pretty clear to me and it's clear to the fans, you know, who's been hiding from me and who's running. And, you know, these guys are scared of me right now. So I'm just waiting to get a hold of one of them now, and that's Marty Juiceman. And you know, hopefully he doesn't take too long on the sidelines. I know he's saying that he needs some time with his daughter and he wants some time off, but, you know, it's time for round two. Don't delay this any more than it needs to be.
So obviously there's a lot to discuss with you. First off, you were in the building on Saturday, the first event in over a year in a sold out arena. Before we get into what happened in the fight and how that affects you, obviously, what was it like being there and just seeing the fans back? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. The only reason I went out there was for the fans. You know, there's a reason I'm the people's champion, and, you know, the people love me and I love the people. So I kind of wanted to feel that energy with the crowd in the arena again and really just some normalcy, you know, some normalcy back in our lives. You know, it's been the scamdemic and they're keeping us locked down and quarantine and this and that. So it was good to get back in the building with people and interact and have that normalcy back in our lives. Big thank you to Dana White for making it happen, and Ron DeSantis, the best governor in America right now, you know, making it all possible so we could go back to Florida with the UFC and put on some great fights for the fans and have the fans back doing what they regularly do. And that's fun, be entertained and enjoy the show.
Was that a camouflage suit you were wearing on Saturday? Was that what that was?
That's right. That was a camouflage suit for all my friends in the military and law enforcement. You know, nothing but love for those guys. Everybody knows I fight for the troops, and, you know, I'm inspired by them. I'm motivated by them, and they give me a lot of my purpose every day in my training and my purpose when I step into the octagon, that I'm fighting for those that fight for us and fight for our freedoms and sacrifice their lives for the red, white, and blue so we can, you know, live our free lives here in America.
So let's go back to sort of like the middle of fight week, because Dana White was doing a bunch of interviews, a lot of media throughout the build to the card, and talking about the fight between Usman and Masvidal. And he said essentially that, listen, we're giving Masvidal the rematch, but then after that, Colby gets the winner. So how did you react to that statement and that vote of confidence from the big boss that you were next in line, at least in his eyes?
Yeah, it was good. It was, you know, but you know, it's one step, you know, we still got to get Marty and Ali Abdelaziz on the other hook. You know, those guys, they're refusing to fight me. You know, there's a reason he ran it back right away with that fragile guy, Street Judas Masvidal. They knew it was an easy lick, an easy payday. You know, the guy's got almost 20 losses on his record. He's literally the definition of journeyman. So, you know, Jorge, we found out, you know, he's fragile. He has no chin. So, you know, of course he wanted to expose all that hype in front of the world, and good job. You guys did that. But now who are you going to fight? There's no one else. There's no other lightweights for Marty and Ali to pick. There's no other former teammates that are another blown up lightweight that you guys can beat on. It's time for round 2 with Colby Covington and Marty Usman. And, you know, this is going to be really the test of 2 of the best fighters of all time in this weight class.
Okay, so you were there. You were right there to watch it all play out on Saturday night. And Usman won the first round. No surprise. Masvidal was taking some shots. He was smiling, got taken down. He worked his way back up. And it seemed like he might have had like a little bit of momentum headed into the second round. And then Usman knocked him cold with that big right hand. And most people thought like if the fight was going to end in that way, it would have been the other way. Were you surprised the way the fight actually ended?
No, I wasn't really surprised. You know, I noticed that George, first off, that fragile dude, Street Judas Masvidal, you know, he doesn't like to train. He has no work ethic. I mean, his everyday life, Mike, that guy's, you know, popping pills, doing freaking drugs, partying, you know, cheating on his wife, you know, lying to his kids. So the guy's just a piece of shit, you know, and finally things caught up to him. Karma bit him in the ass. And, you know, he's getting older now. What's he, almost 40 years old now? So the guy's past his time. He shouldn't even be in there at the top of the level. And Marty realized that, you know, he took him down because, you know, that fragile guy, Street Judas Masvidal, has no takedown defense. Took him down, get him gassed, get him tired, get him gassed out. And then boom, started swinging haymakers. So I knew it was just a matter of time until he was going to catch him with a big shot. And, you know, it's nothing special just because Marty beat this journeyman, you know, with a bunch of hype on him. It's nothing special. I wasn't impressed with that fight. You know, if anything, dude, I saw a lot of weaknesses in his game, Mike. You know, of course, the media is not going to talk about the weaknesses. They want to just talk about the strength and this crazy knockout and this and that, and this new evolved game of his. But, you know, I saw him get tired in that first round. You know, he was swinging heavy and he got in the wrestling exchange and he was tired when he got back to his feet. So if he fights me like that, Mike, I promise you it will be and new.
So when people are starting to compare him to George St. Pierre right now, what is your reaction to that? Because like it's either like he's on the road there, or some people think he's there, and some people look at like the different sorts of generations of the sport and say that, you know, with the streak he's on, the guys he's fought, you know, the game has evolved so much at this point, like maybe he's surpassed George St. Pierre. So what are your thoughts on those comparisons at this point in his run?
You know, I don't really know much about GSP's run. Like, I don't know how many title fight wins he had. So, you know, I don't know if you want to compare that to, you know, Usman's title fight wins. But, you know, there's a lot of fights. You know, that fight with me and Usman, you know, you can't. That's not a definitive win. You know, he should be want to rematch and prove the critics wrong on that fight because, you know, I was winning most of that fight. You know, it was an early stoppage. It was a bad stoppage. There was a ton of terrible breaks in that fight. The nut shot, you know, that he called when I kicked him in the liver, that's a momentum change. So, you know, that wasn't a win. You know, that's not a real win. If I would have won like that, I would have wanted to rematch right away and prove to the critics, prove to all the doubters, prove to all the media that, you know, that's not the way you win. That's not a convincing win. And I wouldn't be satisfied with that. So, you know, hopefully Marty will want to come back and rematch soon and won't be hiding from me for too much longer.
So I probably got like 25 to 30 DMs on Instagram earlier last week when you posted that photo with a woman, and people were asking me like, who is that? And I didn't even know how to respond. Who was that?
Man, that's so embarrassing, Mike. You know, that was the mother of his 2 children. His wife still right now to this day, because they haven't legally got the divorce yet. So that was that fragile dude, Judas Masvidal's wife and mother of his 2 children. And you know what's disgusting about that, Mike, is the reason I put that up because first off, we go back, you know, 10 years. So she's a family friend of mine. You know, I met her before George and she's always been good to me, you know, and a good lady. So, you know, she's just a friend who we were just catching up talking. And it's so crazy because after we hung out, I went and looked on Google and I looked on the internet and I'm like, type in the Google search, Jorge's wife, Jorge's mother of his children. And they tried, that fragile dude, Judas Masvidal, tried to scrub the internet of his own wife and mother of his 2 children and say that his manager's daughter, Iman Kawa, was the wife of him and the mother of his children. So I was just putting some truth out there, Mike, some facts, so you can't run from or hide from the truth or facts. That was Jorge Masvidal, that fragile dude's wife, and that's the mother of his children. You can't hide that. No more lying to the people.
So what made you want to post that picture?
Oh, just to let him know, that, hey, man, I see you, dude. I see how fake you are. I see that you tried to literally erase her from existence, bro. Like, that's the mother of your children. She's carrying your kids. I know the piece of shit you are, that you fragile motherfucker, George Masvidal. I know how fragile. I know the piece of shit you are to your wife, to your two kids. I know how much stress you're creating in their lives and the things that you're making their lives, that much harder. So, I just wanted to put it in front of his face, Mike, and let him know that, you can't run from the truth or hide from the truth anymore. I'm going to expose you to your fakeness.
He did an interview with ESPN with Ariel leading up to the fight, and he talked about the situation between the two of you guys. He basically said, like, both of you guys got kicked out of ATT after like a near skirmish or something, but then he got brought back into the fold and you weren't. And I know you've kind of told your side of the story, but can you give a reaction to what Jorge was saying about, both of you guys got kicked out, they wanted to bring him back and just kind of let you do your own thing?
Yeah, I can give you an elaboration, Mike, into truth, into facts, in the real side of the story, because once again, that fragile dude, Judas Masvidal, is not telling the facts, not telling the truth of the story. He would come into the gym every day I'm training, getting ready for my fight with Usman, screaming across the gym, "Oh, Colby, I'm going to fuck you up. I'm going to baptize you, blah, blah, blah," and just make a scene. So, like, none of the pro fighters could train. It was disrupting the training. So Dan Lambert, he had to make a decision. He's like, "Hey, you guys are both out. This is creating too much problems over at the gym, and it's messing up the chemistry. So you guys are gone." So a couple weeks go by. He's still begging to go back, blah, blah, blah. Finally, Dan decides to bring him back, and he also wanted to bring me back. And he's like, "Hey, Colby, I'd like you to come back. The pandemic's starting, or it's over, and I made a mistake. I want you back on the team." But I said, "Dan, thanks, but no thanks. I'm not going back. It wasn't a good situation for me over at that gym, ATT. There was a lot of drama, a lot of people starting stuff. But what's funny about it, Mike, is all these people starting stuff, they only scream at me when coaches are in between them across the gym. If they really wanted to do something, Mike, they would have came up to me face to face. Like Dustin Sorry, "Oh, it's on site when I see Colby." Dustin, it's not on site. I'll put you down so quickly. You were my easy rounds. When I got tired, I'd go with you just to play with you like my little dummy. So if it was really on site, you would have came up to me. And that fragile dude, Judas Masvidal, same thing. If you really were about that life, you come up to me. You try and start some shit. But no, you just want to talk to the media like you're all big, build yourself up. But that's not the truth. And the truth is not what you tried to say, that, oh, they didn't invite Colby back. They just wanted him back. No, they wanted me back too, Mike. But I didn't want to go back. I had better coaches over at Colby Covington Incorporated and MMA Masters. My jiu-jitsu coach, Daniel Valverde, we've been really working really hard on my submissions, and I just feel like I'm a finishing machine. I feel on top of the world. This is the best jiu-jitsu coach I've ever had. It just so happens he's a judo coach, very good trips and good takedowns. So I'm learning a lot there from him too. And then my kickboxing coach, Cesar Carnero, we just work so hard on timing and just really sitting down on our punches and just being efficient with my energy and really maximizing my volume. So I just feel like I'm on another level with him. And my strength and conditioning coach, Jonathan Lopez, amazing strength and conditioning coach. That guy's a wizard, and he's really just taking my cardio as the cardio king to the next level. So I'm thankful for my situation. I didn't want to go back, and that's the facts. That's truth. And you can go ask Dan Lambert.
Not too long ago, it seemed like the fight between you and Masvidal was going to happen. I mean, he ended up getting the title fight. I'm curious, like, what happened there, because it seemed like after you beat Tyron Woodley, there was talks about Masvidal maybe running it back with Nate. And then as soon as you beat Tyron, it was like, nope, we're not doing that. We're going to do Masvidal versus Covington. There's rumors out there about maybe the two of you guys coaching the resurgence of the Ultimate Fighter. It seemed like this is the direction everybody wanted to go. What happened with that from your perspective?
Well, not just from my perspective, Mike, what happened from the UFC perspective, from Dana White's perspective, Hunter Campbell's perspective is the truth. Plain and simple, that fragile dude, Judas Masvidal, did not want to fight me. After I beat Woodley, they were trying to match us up in October, November, December. He would refuse every month. "No, I'm not fighting Colby. No, I don't like that matchup. Oh, he's too tough for me. Oh, we used to train, blah, blah, blah." So he's talking all this smack in the media, saying he's going to baptize me, saying he's doing this on site. But then when it's time to fight in the octagon for millions of dollars, oh, now you don't want to fight, now you're scared. So they couldn't get that fight together, plain and simple, Mike. And the last ditch effort they tried to make was making us the Ultimate Fighter coaches. But plain and simple, he said, no, I don't want to be Ultimate Fighter coaches against him. I don't want to fight Colby. If I want a rematch, or I want to fight Nate Diaz or some other lightweight or washed up scrub. So, everybody knows who's my son. That fragile dude, Judas Masvidal, is my son. I am his father, and he knows who daddy is. And now all his hype is gone. 10 seconds of fame are out of here. And, we're never going to fight. I have nothing to prove to him. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to starch Marty Fake Newsman, and it's on to bigger and better things.
So the way Dana White was speaking throughout the week, I thought we might see you get in that octagon with Usman, kind of do the like a flashback to the early days of the UFC where the next guy walks in and they do the face off. Why didn't we see that?
We didn't see that because Marty didn't want it. And just like he doesn't want this fight. He does not want round 2. If I was the easy lift, Mike, he would have came after me to rematch me right away. There's a reason he took the easy payday with that fragile dude, Judas Masvidal. He knew it was an easy fight. The guy's got almost 20 losses on his record. He's a journeyman, and Marty knew that. So Marty's been in there with me. He knows how tough I am. He knows I took multiple rounds off him, concussed him, wobbled him, almost had it finished if he didn't fake a timeout and have to get a breather. So he knows how tough I am, and he's refusing to fight me. He doesn't want anything to do with me. He'd rather retire, honestly, Mike, than get round 2 with me locked in that octagon.
Do you think this fight happens?
I don't know. I hope so. I want it. There's nothing more that I want. I want to rewrite my wrongs. I want to prove to the world that I'm a better fighter than him. And I want to prove to the world that I'm the greatest pound for pound fighter in the world right now. So I hope it happens. If it doesn't happen, it'll only be because of him, that he doesn't want to fight. He might walk away from the sport, or, I need more time with my daughter, or this and that. So, I hope it happens, but we'll have to see.
Have you talked to Dana did you talk to Dana on Saturday, or have you talked to him since Saturday about this?
Yeah, I talked to him a little bit Saturday after the fight. He's like, yeah, you're next. We're going to make that fight. We're going to get that fight done. So it's the fight to make, man. It's what the fans want. It's what Dana White, the UFC wants. Even Stephen A. Smith was out there on First Take this morning campaigning for that fight. So he even knows that that's the fight to make. So, I'm ready to go. We don't need to delay this any more than it needs to be. Hopefully he'll be back in Florida, doing a favor for Ron DeSantis, for him doing a favor for us, and letting us be the first sport back with fans. So, hopefully we get it done sooner than later.
Yeah, there's some interesting matchups coming up in your division. Of course, Leon Edwards fighting Nate Diaz May 15th. Gilbert Burns is fighting Stephen Thompson on July 10th. Usman fought Edwards a few years ago. He's on a nice run. He just beat Gilbert Burns. He hasn't fought Nate or Wonderboy yet. So is there any part of you concerned that one of these guys could jump the queue, so to speak?
No, not at all. Dana White made a promise to me, Hunter Campbell, they made promises to me. I know these guys wouldn't break their promises. I know these guys are men of their word. These are good, hardworking men, blue collar men, that have rise up to the top of the industry. So, I think I take these guys' word at what they said. And everybody knows I'm number 1 in the world. I'm number 1 in the rankings. You can't deny that. That's facts. So this is the fight that needs to happen. Marty should want to jump at this fight right away, man. You should want to prove to the critics and the doubters, that, oh, you're the best in the world. You're the convincing. You want to be the pound for pound number 1. You want to be the GOAT. You got to go through me again and prove to the world that wasn't a fluke, because it was a fluke. I was winning that fight, early stoppage, fake timeouts, this and that. So let's go, Marty Juiceman. Stop wasting time. We know you're the CEO of EPO, but it's time to get exposed in front of the world.
The stars were out in full force on Saturday night, Colby. You were there. Some of the UFC's biggest names were there. Tom Brady was out there with the Tampa Bay Bucks, and even Jake Paul was in the building, had the little run-in with DC, Octagon side. I don't know if you were out there for that, but what have you made of this Jake Paul phenomenon? I've been dying to ask you about this. The fight with Ben Askren did reportedly 1.5 million pay-per-view buys. What have you made with this, him being at the event and everything that's going on with him?
Everything that's going on with him is hilarious. This guy's an amateur. Snake Paul is literally a bum. He's a Disney YouTube star. He's not a real fighter. He's an amateur. He's a nobody. I'd literally smack the pubes off his face. But, what I make of him is he's just, looking to get hype and build himself up as a real fighter. He's not a real fighter, Mike. This guy's a nobody from the streets. That last fight with Ben Askren was a work. They made that a fix. Askren took a dive for the money, and that's that. You know, I don't really take much more from that circus of Triller. You know, it's literally a circus. You know, it's the clown show. So no one's got time on their Saturday night at midnight to listen to an hour fucking special by Justin Bieber in between fights. Come on, this is a joke. This is joke time. So let's get back to the real business, like the UFC, you know, where we got real stars coming out. Tom Brady, Cuba Gooding Jr., you know, Mike Evans was in attendance, a couple other NFL players, bunch of UFC fighters, and, you know, just back to normalcy and back to regular life, you know, fans in the arena, energy, electricity, and, you know, the best entertainment show in the world.
What if he starts calling your name? He's calling out Masvidal. He's called out Conor. Looks like Tyron Woodley wants that fight now, your old buddy. What if he starts saying your name? I'm shocked he hasn't, if we're being honest.
You're shocked, Mike?
I'm shocked he hasn't said your name, even just for hype purposes. I'm surprised, honestly.
No, he wouldn't do that, Mike. He's not that stupid. He's only looking for old, retired, washed-up fighters. He's not looking for a guy in his prime who's the top of the weight class who can actually throw hands. He's looking for wrestlers, jiu-jitsu fighters, you know, guys that supposedly did MMA, but they're literally, you know, 40 and 50-year-old virgins, you know. And he's not going to call out someone that actually knows how to fight.
Nick Diaz is there on Saturday as well. Did you run into him in any way?
He was a couple seats down from me, front row, but, you know, he knows better than that to pipe up to me, you know. He's a Stockton soy boy, you know. He's not going to mess with MAGA bombs, you know. And someone was asking me, like, oh, you think Nick's going to fight again? I'm like, I don't know. He might, you know. If he does, it's just going to be a cash grab. It's not going to be anything like he's a legit threat to anyone. And if honestly, like, you saw Tom Brady in the building, you saw Cuba Gooding Jr. in the building, you saw all these other A-list celebrities in the building, and it's like, are they getting in the octagon? Probably not. So, you know, I don't believe Nick Diaz is getting in the octagon as likely as the Tom Brady is going to get in the octagon.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Brady in the octagon, I don't want to see that. Let Tom Brady sling that football down the field. He won us a lot of championships here in New England, and he's the GOAT, no doubt about that. So as far as you go in this title shot, the rematch that you're hoping to get, when do you want I mean, I assume you want this fight to happen as soon as possible. Usman just fought twice in like 70-something days. Things are starting to fill up pay-per-view main event-wise and title fight-wise. Has a date even been discussed at all, like a time frame, anything?
Yeah, I was talking with Hunter Campbell today, you know, and, you know, we were talking about a date, August, September. I think that's something that makes sense for Marty. It gives him, you know, 4, 5, 6 months to get ready for it. So, you know, that hopefully it's August, September. You know, I don't want to delay it later in the year into October, November. You know, just let's get this out of the way, you know, especially because Marty Juiceman was saying in the lead up to this fight, oh, I want to fight 2 or 3 more times this year. So he said it himself, Mike. He wants to fight 2 or 3 more times this year. I'm the next guy in line. There's no one else to make. And, you know, you didn't take any damage in that fight with that fragile guy, Judas Masvidal. So it was a flawless victory. You took the guy down. You got the big haymaker knockout. Good for you. You didn't take no damage. So there's no excuses to delay this fight any later than September at the absolute latest.
Would you consider any other matchup? Like if Usman can't do that date or they go a different direction for some reason, is there any other fight you consider at this point, or is it title fight or bust?
No, I'm the money fight in the UFC, man. Usman's not even a draw. He doesn't draw numbers. He doesn't move the needle. The guy's literally a nobody. Yeah, you've had a good career. You know, you beat some guys that literally were washed up after I beat them. You followed in the footsteps of me, tried to copy my literally carbon copy blueprint. So, you know, I don't see anything special with him. If he doesn't want to fight, you know, I fight for paychecks, man. You know, I'm a draw. If the UFC needs me and they need to make a big fight, you know, or save a card, I'm always ready to fight, man. I stay ready 24/7, 365. So, you know, I'm just going to keep doing my business. And if the UFC needs me to come step up and fight a big fight, I'm going to come step up and prove that I'm the best in the world, because that's all I want to do. I'm trying to prove my legacy and my greatness right now. And that's just by fighting the biggest fights in the world.
Speaking of big names and big fights, have you seen Conor's trying to get Usman's attention now? Have you seen that on social media over the last couple of days?
I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it. And, you know, that's obviously just Conor just trying to get some hype, get some headlines. Come on, dude. The guy just got knocked out by Dustin Poirier. Come on, are you serious? You want a title shot at 170? Dude, you're getting beat up by by literally gatekeeper lightweights. And now you want to come to the top of the 170 welterweight division. Everybody knows what Conor's doing. He's not really going to do that. He's not going to come up and fight welterweights. He's just doing that to grab attention, to grab headlines, make people think he's being taken seriously, because honestly, he's a joke. He's the laughing stock in the MMA community and even to casual fans, because they're just like, man, Conor's washed up. He's done. He made all that money with his whiskey. He made all that money for the Mayweather fight. He has no motivation. Nothing gets him up early in the morning to go fight. So, he tries to say it's for his kids, but man, the guy's done, man. He has nothing left in the tank.
You think Dustin beats him again?
Yeah, and that's not like saying Dustin Poirier is any good or is anything special, because the guy's not. Like, the guy's a gatekeeper at lightweight. He's nothing more, all in the big fights, he always get knocked out and beaten. So, he's a jobber. That's the definition of what Dustin Poirier is. And he's a fake. He's a clown, man. Trying to start that charity and say that he's all about the good fight and, he's trying to give back to kids. No, it's not. That's a tax write-off for your business. Tell the people the truth, man. I know the real person you are, Dustin Poirier. You're a piece of shit person behind the scenes. You won't take pictures with fans. You won't do this and that. You don't treat nobody good. You act like you're better than people with the ego. So don't act like you're special just because you beat Conor McGregor after his time and when he was washed up.
So last thing, I mean, you're saying hopefully August, September, you're in there, you fight Usman again for the welterweight title. You've said many times since the first fight, you believed you got the big fat hose job from the referee, Mark Goddard, not just for the stoppage of the fight. You mentioned it here, but the stoppages of the action as well. Masvidal got his rematch. You want your rematch. What's the message for Kamaru Usman right now?
Oh, the message is, you trying to tell me you need activity. I came back and won a fight. Did George, that fragile guy, win a fight when you beat him 50-43? You already beat him convincing, and it was a dominant win. And then you took him rematch right away because you knew it's an easy lick. I came back and won a fight and beat a guy that you beat for the world championship, a former UFC champion. And, I've had 3 or 4 of those on my resume in my last couple of fights. So as wins. So, this is the fight that needs to happen. This is the fight the fans want. Give the people what they want, Marty. Give Dana White and the UFC what they want. Come show your greatness. Come prove that you're the welterweight GOAT. Come prove that you're the pound for pound number 1. Because I know I'm going to stop you. This is going to be a completely different outcome round 2. You're not going to have Mark Goddard to save your life, give you fake timeouts for fake nut shots when I kicked you in the liver. That completely changes the momentum of the whole entire fight. I would have finished him right there. No more faking eye poke on the other eye. I barely touched your left eye. You're crying on your right eye for 5 minutes, getting a break. So there's no more change the momentum and no more cheating. It's got to be done with Marty Juiceman, the CEO of EPO.
Colby, it's been 8 months, but we finally got to catch back up. I truly appreciate it. I think the rematch makes a whole lot of sense at this point. Like you said, people want to see it. Dana wants to see it. And all the best to you in getting that fight, Colby. I'm glad we're able to do this once again. And thank you for the time as always. Any parting words for the peeps?
Parting words for the peeps is it was great to see you all again. Great to have you back in the arena. And, I can't wait for my next fight. I'm not going to disappoint.
Well said. Thank you, Colby.
Thanks, buddy. Have a good night.